One very cool thing was for our effects portion of the library, we had Michael Levine. He's a fantastic TV composer. He's well known for his music to Cold Case, but he's also an incredibly eclectic fiddle player. He plays frequently for soundtracks and stuff for Hans Zimmer.
I'm very excited to see what this second round is going to bring, and I was quite delighted to be included in the actual process. If I think that there was a drawback with the first round, it was that some of the extremes weren't well represented. Again, it's that thing about going after the 95% of the stuff you use all the time, but every now and then that 5% is exactly what you need.
Great. Same thing, except we'll do rips into it.
I work in a facility called Remote Control that has a number of famous composers and some other really good and not quite as famous composers. And I asked an awful lot of them, what would you want in a brass effects library? And almost everybody came up with an idea. So we wrote them all down and recorded as many of them as we could.
So we're going to do two passes of this. One is we're going to do this as in tune as possible, and then we're going to do one where we drift in microtonally away from the pitch, so that we'll be able to, as a player, you'll be able to mix it with a mod wheel to get more or less waveriness.
The Cinesamples guys approached us to just ask for some general advice on what to do in the library and what some of the composers are looking for here. So I was able to help on an advisory role for this library to just give some basic recommendations of what we think is missing in a lot of the brass libraries out there.
We went 2 full days, probably 16 hours each day, recording pretty much non-stop to these hard disks. So going through and sorting all this stuff out has been quite a big task. As I'm going through and cutting the samples, I'm finding that because of the differences of the distance between the mics, you have to be very careful that if you're, depending on what stereo element you're listening to, whether it be the close mics, the mid, the full mix, or the surround mics, you have to make sure that the attack isn't cut off or it doesn't sound wrong. So sample by sample, I'm having to go in and make sure that it's smooth and doesn't sound like you're suddenly hearing the room open up and then close.
In the beginning, we know exactly what we want, so when we get to the end, we're not having mistakes or trying to artificially create things or pitch things or noise reduce things. We just like having it kind of naked and kind of going with it and doing our research in pre-production and while we're recording.
It's very, very, very tedious, but when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of samples, with literally terabytes of information of recorded audio, you have to be very particular and very keen on how it sounds, and the whole process from start to finish with setting up the mics, making sure the mics are in good position and not phasing, making sure the musician understands what's going on, being able to convey to the musician what you're trying to do. And I think that guys at Cinesamples are doing a great job at that, and I think being able to convey that is really what's going to give them a really good product.